What's going on, everybody? Dylan Napoleon with Cageside Press, joined today by a Bellator heavyweight set to make his PFL debut, tall Steve Mowry. How you doing, Steve?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me, Dylan.
Awesome. Glad to hear it, man. Always good to talk to you, although this is the first interview, but a bunch of media days in the past. Um, man, we all heard some big news earlier this week. PFL season, all sorts of fights and dates were booked, and man, you were one of them. Getting things started here in just 3 weeks from today, coming up pretty quick in San Antonio, Texas. You, Tall Steve, will be back in action, man. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling excited, man. It's a never had a harder out to win $1 million, but this group of dudes, it'd be exciting to see the route to victory for sure.
That's right, dude. And man, if you ask me, a tough crop of guys in this tournament, a real tough crop, and I feel like it's awesome that you're one of them. Like, if you're in this tournament, you should know, you're top level and you're competing with some of the best. So it must be an honor to be in this tournament. But man, when you found out that you were one of the guys considered, or you were in there, matter of fact, what were the thoughts like? Fighting all the time. It seems like with the season, you're gonna have to be pretty active. What were the thoughts about that kind of stuff?
It mostly like an upside. It was exciting to know that at least for the time being, we're gonna have a lot of activity. We're gonna have a
Yep.
lot of fights, a lot of um, a lot more. I don't want to say maybe not more consistency,
Yep.
like I know for sure that there will be something else coming up in
Yeah.
the future. Something that kind of plagued me in the past was a lot of uncertainty. I'd fight and then I didn't know if I was going to have to get ready for something in 4 months or if I was going to have to wait 14 months or,
Right.
the most exciting thing about the PFL and the way the season's structured is, for sure you have two fights over 6 months, and then you can, depending on how you did, you're going to be able to kind of suss out what you're going to be doing for the late fall, early spring kind of
Yeah,
season.
absolutely. Well, that's good, man. I'm glad you're in good, spirits about it. That's awesome. And it's always good to be excited for what's next and knowing what's next, especially. But man, like I said, riding out to San Antonio, Texas, 3 weeks from today, taking on Oleg Popov in the first round of this regular season. He's a tough guy. You're a tough guy. Should be an amazing fight. What were some of your thoughts about going out to Texas and fighting this guy?
I mean, I love Texas. I've competed there a couple times doing grappling, and I stayed there for a few weeks about 10 years ago. Now I think about it, to help Jared Rosholt train for a fight. And man, Texas is one of my favorite states. I got to say.
That's
Uh,
awesome. You ever been to
Popov,
San Antonio?
no, never San
Oh,
Antonio. It's always generally it's been like the DFW, the Dallas Fort Worth
yep.
area, and but bro, every time I go, I have the time of my life. I think
That's good.
Texas in a weird way, I'm happy in Florida right now, but I could see myself ending up in Texas someday.
Wow.
Maybe not today, not tomorrow, but I think
Yeah.
sometime in the future I might
In
end
the
up there.
yeah, that's cool, man. So all the more reason to, be celebrating about fighting there. But I heard you getting on to your opponent just a minute ago, talking a little bit about him. What were you saying?
Yeah, he really impressed in his first out with Bellator.
Yep.
When he beat Gokhan, I was pretty taken aback. I know just how good Gokhan is. I fought him obviously, and then I trained with him several times after.
Yep.
So to go out there and get a win against Gokhan Saracham was pretty impressive. But that said, it's a really exciting challenge to make my first time out. And like I said, it never been a harder time to win $1 million in
Right.
considering this crop of guys. And Oleg Popov is going to be a tough go, but I'm really confident in my abilities to be able to go out there and put on a show.
That's good. Awesome to hear. Like I said, I know a lot of people are expecting a really big and tough fight right here, like, just a banger. Heavyweights always get down. But man, you know, a couple months ago, probably less than 6 months ago, a lot of people were kind of, especially fighters, were kind of questioning what was next for them, especially with the acquisition of Bellator and PFL and stuff like that. But to be here today and, a couple weeks ago, a couple months ago, you found out that you were in this tournament. How happy are you to see where this has gone and, ultimately how this accusation affects you as a fighter?
I mean, I'm really happy it shook out the way it did. Um, yeah, I mean, like I was amongst, probably 95% of the roster
Yeah.
and that was in the dark. Like I was really kind of starting to get worried, to be honest with you. Like, well, when is my next paycheck coming? Am I going to have to get a job? Am I, what does the future look like? And,
Mm.
especially my last performance wasn't one that I was very proud of. So I was really like looking forward to getting back on the horse, not just to make a little bit of money, but to kind of, um, just to kind of like correct ship sort of thing.
Right.
So yeah, whenever I talked to Mike Hogan right around the time the acquisition went public, and he told me that I should expect to be part of the season, I was I was elated, man. It was like I said, it's just nice to have at least my next few months blocked off.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So that's a great thing as a fighter. Like I said a minute ago, you kind of know, like after this fight, you're gonna know what's next and where you'll fight and stuff like that. So with that being said, does anything change within the training camp? Any more activity, or have you always been, kind of on a regular basis, ready to go and ready to fight that actively?
Yeah, I'm an everyday guy. The intensity and the volume pick up a little
Mhm.
bit whenever I'm about 5 6 weeks out from a fight. But no, I don't ever really get myself out of shape, and I don't really take extended breaks in terms of like showing up at the gym. I mean, like I said, I'll I'll start to lay off sparring a little bit. Like I mean, the older I get, the less and less I think that there is reason to be going in and slanging and banging, especially with the killers at Kill Cliff.
Mhm.
But that said, no, I'm always trying to put tools in my tool belt, get better, sharpen things up.
Mhm.
So anytime they call me for a fight, I'm ready to pick it up and get active.
That's good. Yeah, man. So a lot of some fighters, not a lot at all, but some they might be fighters who take breaks after fights and stuff like that, and might not train as intense or as hard as someone like you. Um, as a fighter who's going to be in a season, how important do you feel like it's going to be on that high horse all the time and really just be active in the gym? And how much of a difference do you see that making?
Well, that's the interesting thing about a season is that um, it's obviously not just performing well, in the fights, but you have to be measured in your approach and like, I'm not a spring chicken anymore. I'm 31 years old, so I'm not by any means quote unquote old, and I'm not even for heavyweight. I'm not old, but not by a long shot. But I can't do the things I could do when I was 23, 24 years old. So one thing I am looking forward to, figuring out is like how how am I going to balance preparing for a fight whenever, in a very real practical way, I
Yeah.
always have a fight. Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
literally. Yeah.
So,
That'll
but no,
be fun though to new it's like a new experience, a new test for yourself.
for sure. And I mean, like I said, there was a long period of time, really from the time that I started as a pro, there was always like this like, okay, well, do I have a fight coming up? Do I not have a fight coming up? There was always like this like, should I
Yeah.
pick now? Because one thing I definitely had a problem with was I would miss time when I would try to like peak in camp.
Yeah.
I would be like 5 weeks out from a fight and I'd be totally like burnt out and
Yeah.
overtrained. So like I said, I think it's only going to help now knowing that like, okay, well, I'm fighting April 4th and then I'm probably
Yeah.
fighting. And I mean, I don't know exactly when, but like
Right.
you'll know right away when you're
Yeah.
fighting.
That should give you a good advantage, being a guy who's ready for that and expecting it. But, obviously you're taking on a really great rest of the tournament in terms of what you've got. Let's talk a little bit about that for a minute. You start the tournament, you start the season with a tough test at hand, but man, it gets tougher as you go on. I know that's something that you've been expecting and waiting for and doing it, these past couple fights, especially taking on real tough guys. But what do you have to say about the rest of the competition and the guys within the tournament?
Yeah. I mean, I've, a lot of the guys I'm trying to think, I've either been matched up against, fought, or have trained with.
Yeah,
And it's like, I mean, nobody's more aware of just how stiff the competition is in this bracket. But But at the end of the day, it's like one of those things that you'll go down like this intense rabbit hole if you try to like put together matchups and
Yeah.
whatever.
Oh yeah.
At the end of the day, it's showing up, getting your gloves taped, and punching a
Go.
tick. You
Yeah,
know,
man. Definitely, definitely. Well, I want to talk about, the past couple fights and the things that you have been going on, things that you've experienced in the cage the past couple fights, right? First ever loss as a professional and then, well,
first
first
ever loss ever.
yeah. Oh, yeah. And amateur career. Yeah. So let's talk about it, man. And so you had the one loss and the draw, which had to be a really tough time to take in and settle with. What was this like for you being a guy who was always winning? It's got to be, obviously a different experience. What was it like for you?
It was hard, dude. It was a
Yeah.
hard. I had like I got poked in the eye, which is what it is. But then, yeah, I started to experience a lot of like very intense mental health and like self doubt issues, and like, um, it was hard, dude. It was really tough, and it was knowing that I wasn't performing to my capabilities, and like I really like let a lot of things in my life get out of balance. I was, trying to juggle being a young dad with like, big boy responsibilities, and like,
Yep.
having these fights where I really felt like I was the better fighter, and and not going my way, and then even still, nothing to take away anything away from my opponents, but like, um it was tough. It was just, it
Yeah.
was really hard, but like, and I started to get back to like what I really believe in. Got back in touch with my more spiritual side. Started to kind of like
That's good.
put some perspective on things in life, and
Yeah.
just realize that really at the end of the day, like, I'm just super grateful to be able to live and fight and compete for a living, and you know, uh, I love what I do. I love what I get to do, and
Yeah.
it's you know
Soak that in for a minute, let it absorb.
yeah. And then after the kind of the ironic thing was, after the dust settled on the loss sort of thing, that's really what made me stop and be like, okay, well, like I had my first ever loss, and like it sucked, and it broke my heart, and like it was hard, but you know probably the best thing that could have happened to me was losing, and then like stopping and looking around and realizing that like nothing like structurally in my life changed. It
Yeah.
sucks
Yeah.
losing, sucks getting half a paycheck, but like my wife still loves me, my kids are still happy to see me, like
Yeah.
all my
That's
friends
what
at the
it's
gym,
all about, man.
exactly, everybody at the gym that still likes
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
My parents are still happy whenever I pick up the phone, kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
it
How
was
how have the past couple months, I'm hoping you've been doing better and knowing that you're ready for your next fight. I'm sure you're excited and ready to put on a show, but past couple months, I'm hoping everything's kind of helped you turn around and you're doing a little better now.
definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, not knowing with my career kind of like being up in the air, like, hey, what's going to happen? What isn't going to happen? When can we expect to hear something? That was definitely difficult.
Yeah.
But like I said, it was really very humbling to be in a position where like I got reminded of how like I am not, I am not fighting. I am a fighter. It's just something I do. But I'm also a dad, and I'm also a friend, and I'm also a husband. And
Yeah.
I kind of like in a very real practical way, I got to experience that. And that was, probably the best thing that could have happened to me after I lost.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear you've got an amazing support system around you. Um, Credit to everybody who are by your
Yeah,
side and
shout
helping
out to
you.
everybody that stuck by me.
That's right, man. Shout out to everybody who helped you through that rough time. But man, with your next task at hand, like we said, you're super excited and eager to get back in there and show everybody who you are. Man, what's changed and how hungry are you really to get back in there and really prove yourself? I'm sure that's something that you want to do really bad right now.
Yeah, and especially like with the when you have a big wide open division, um, and you have to climb the ladder, and just win fights at the right times against the right people. Like it's easy to kind of get lost in like the whatever the giant wide open possibilities of like, what could happen, what might not happen. What excites me most about a season is like you either won the fight or you didn't, so you advance. You either won that fight or you didn't, so you advance. You either won that, and then how you do in every fight
Matter.
matters. You can
Yeah.
see how it matters, and you like, a year from now when the dust settles and I'm a champion, you won't be able to say like nobody will be able to say like, hey, well, you had an easy route, or you only beat the whatever these guys. You had good matchups. You had whatever the
Right.
promotion was backing you the whole time. No matter what, when it's all said and done, and I have the championship belt and $1 million check in my hand, I'll be able to say like, no, I beat everybody on the way here.
That's right. Definitely. Yeah. That $1 million title is probably one of the most earned or hardest earned things in sports. Being, especially this season, I feel like with the Bellator guys coming over to PFL, the competition, you could
Oh
just
yeah,
see how
way,
much
way
difficult
up.
or yeah, way, way better. And yeah, to say the least, if you win this tournament, you really are, no matter what division, if it's you, Steve, or anybody, whoever wins these tournaments, best in the world considered. You know what I mean? There's only one more guy that you would have to take on to be considered the best in the world, and that is pretty damn cool.
Yeah,
Right? And that's the thing that I'm getting from you is I feel the competition. You're a real competitive guy, and you're excited for this competition. And you're right. This is the toughest tournament in MMA. But one more thing about this little stretch of your career, man. How do you plan to turn things around? What are some of the things, that you want to do and prove in this upcoming fight to show, that Steve Mowry's still here and still knocking people out?
yeah. I mean, I had a rough couple fights, but I feel like skill wise, I haven't gotten worse.
No,
if anything, I've gotten better. So I'm
right.
just looking forward to putting everything else that I kind of like meander to the forefront aside and just letting my fighting do the talking again.
Yeah, that's it. I feel like it was more or less like an unlucky stretch of your career. It's just like a weird timing type of deal. Like the no contest was just kind of random and just a weird spot in your career now, being that you have a whole tournament ahead of you. It just the best thing that could have happened, right? But heading into this, like you said, it's a great time for you to really show who you are and get back into the winning column and remind people about tall Steve, in my
Mm.
opinion.
I'm looking forward to that.
That's right, man. I'm looking forward to it too. A bunch of my buddies will be out there in San Antonio, but I won't be able to make it, unfortunately. But you guys will have a blast out there. And for you, man, I feel like the good mojo will be there, being in a place that you want to fight in or you want to fight in and be in general. Just I'm sure that'll add to fight week and make you just have that much better of an experience there. It's always better to be in a place where you want to be, right?
For sure.
Definitely. Well, couple last things for you. Right now, Kill Cliff, your main gym, your home gym, all the amazing things that are going on there right now. Two teammates who are also fighting in these tournaments, Jason Jackson, Impa Kasaganai, winning back-to-back titles last year. For you, as a guy who's like right behind them, right, right in their shoes, if you will. What's that like? Because they're setting a huge example. You're not much further behind them. And it's just got to be a great environment, great atmosphere to be experiencing when you're in a position where you are.
Yeah, I mean, the energy at Killcliff right now is like at an all time high in
I'd
terms of
imagine.
positive momentum for sure. And I mean, Jason and Impa were already guys that I mean, for a long time, I had a really healthy, friendly relationship with. But somebody that, and not to beat you up too bad about it, but somebody that doesn't go mention that I also have had the privilege of kind of getting alongside is Emiliano Sordi, who
Yep.
is somebody I train with a lot, and he, whatever, he had an incredible like 2-3 years in a row where he was winning the tournament in the
Yep.
finals, like, and
Killing it. Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, along with those guys, then you have Emiliano, and then you already have all the other savages there, and then
Yeah.
it's Linton too. Like
Yeah.
obviously, me and Linton are
Exactly.
both Linton and I are both. Like it's obviously from the outside looking in, people are probably like, "Oh, what are Steve and Linton gonna do if blah blah blah?" But like
You guys are
as
probably having a blast.
But as it's always been, it's just me
Yeah.
and Lee.
Yeah.
Oh, every day, and then when when training's done, we're just back
Hanging
to
out. Yeah.
being boys again. So it's
Yeah.
no, there's never been a better time to be a Kill Cliff upper weight
Yeah.
guy.
I believe it. I believe it. All the amazing things going on. The coaching there is top notch. And how do you feel as though that momentum will help you and during your fight week and just the overall, atmosphere, the people you'll have around you? It's just a positive group of people and positive atmosphere in general. I'm sure, whether you're in San Antonio or Florida, it's going to be the same deal with the people you've got around you.
I mean, you said it best, dude. Like just the culture at Killcliff is always evolving, always getting better. We're always pushing each other to be a better version of ourselves, and we all being such an eclectic group of people coming from like a wide array of systems and styles. Having everybody come together under one roof with matching intensity, matching goals, similar vision is like I just really feel like it's going to carry it to fight night.
Definitely. Well, what can fans expect from you, Tall Steve Mowry, in April in San Antonio, Texas?
I can expect my best performance.
I feel like you've got one brewing up most definitely with
That's
the
something cooking, baby. It's going to be sick.
definitely. I can feel it. And knowing you as a fighter, and like we said, never lost in your career, I feel like probably almost feel like you have something to prove. Am I right? Or not really? I feel like you proved yourself, but in a sense, you want to get back into that winning column.
Yeah, and I just don't want to be behind the I don't want to be behind the eight ball as in like, all right, I got that one out of the way and it sucks, but I'm really looking forward to like how am I going to right the ship,
Yeah,
and not just how am I going to do it, but I get to do it, and I get to do something really special, and I'm just really grateful for the opportunity to go out and get it kicking again.
that's it, man. You said it there. It's going to be a very fun 2024 season, Steve. I wish you the best going out to San Antonio during fight week and during the rest of this camp, safe travels and everything like that. I greatly appreciate the time tonight and what a great interview. Super glad to talk to you. And yeah, like I said, man, wishing you the best the next couple weeks.
My pleasure, Dylan. Thank you for having me.
Always, man. We'll talk soon.